My name is Catherine, and I'm 71 years old. For 43 years, I've kept the most important relationship of my life completely hidden, not from strangers, from my own children. You see, my best friend Janet isn't just my friend. She's been my partner, my lover, my soulmate since we were both 28 years old. We raised our children as single mothers in neighboring houses, attended each other's family dinners, celebrated every holiday together. Everyone called us inseparable friends. No one knew we were desperately, completely in love. Until last month, when my granddaughter asked me a question that shattered for decades of careful silence. Grandma, have you ever been in love? Like, really, truly in love? Could you keep the love of your life secret from your own children for over 40 years? Have you ever protected someone by staying silent? Share your thoughts below. I need to know. I'm not alone in this. I met Janet in 1982 at a divorce support group in our small Midwestern town. We were both 28, both newly single mothers, both terrified of starting over. She had 2 daughters, ages 5 and 3. I had a son, age 6. We were both working minimum wage jobs, living in cheap apartments, trying to figure out how to survive. Janet was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, not in a conventional way, but in a way that made my heart stop. Dark auburn hair that caught the light, warm brown eyes that actually listened when you spoke, a laugh that made everyone in the room smile. She wore her exhaustion and determination like armor, and I was drawn to her immediately. We became friends first, real friends. She'd watch my son when I worked late shifts. I'd help with her girls when she had car trouble. We'd drink cheap wine after the kids were asleep and talk about our failed marriages, our dreams, our fears. She was the first person in my life who made me feel less alone. I didn't plan to fall in love with her. I'd never been with a woman, never even thought about it seriously. I'd had crushes on female friends growing up, but I'd written them off as normal admiration. My marriage had been loveless but functional. We'd divorced because we'd grown apart. Not because of any revelation about my sexuality, but 6 months into our friendship, everything changed. We were moving furniture into her new rental house, a small 2-bedroom, just 3 doors down from mine. The kids were at a neighbor's. We were sweaty, exhausted, laughing at our terrible furniture arrangement skills. Janet reached across me to adjust a bookshelf, and suddenly we were inches apart. She looked at me with those warm brown eyes, and I saw my own confusion and longing reflected back. Neither of us spoke. We just stood there, hearts pounding, the air between us electric with everything we couldn't say. Catherine, she whispered, and the way she said my name made me realize I'd been waiting my whole life to hear it said like that. I kissed her, or she kissed me. I honestly don't remember who moved first. I just remember that kissing her felt like coming home to a place I'd never been. We pulled apart, terrified. I started. Me neither, Janet said quickly. I mean, I've thought about it, about women, about you, but I've never. What do we do? I asked, my whole body shaking. Janet took my hands. I don't know, but Catherine, I need you to know something. That wasn't just curiosity for me. I have feelings for you, real feelings, and I'm scared to death because we're both mothers, and this is 1982, and people like us can lose custody of our children. She was right. The fear was real and justified. In our conservative town, in that era, being gay could cost you everything: your job, your housing, your children. We'd both heard stories about lesbian mothers losing custody battles, about families torn apart by prejudice and fear, so we made a choice that would define the next 4 decades of our lives. We would be together, but in absolute secret. No one could know, not our families, not our friends, and especially not our children. We became experts at deception. To the outside world, we were best friends and co-parents, helping each other raise our kids as single mothers. We bought houses 3 doors apart on the same street. We had dinner together most nights, alternating houses. Our children grew up as pseudo-siblings, calling each other's homes their second home. But what no one knew was that, after the children went to sleep, one of us would slip through backyards to the other's house. We'd spend precious hours together talking, holding each other, being ourselves before sneaking back home before dawn. We became masters of the midnight migration, timing our movements to avoid neighbors' porch lights and barking dogs. We developed elaborate systems. We'd set timers on our bedroom TVs so anyone checking would hear sound. We'd leave lights on. We'd park our cars in specific ways to suggest we were home. Every detail mattered. One slip could unravel everything. The hardest part was pretending in front of our children. When Janet's daughter scraped her knee, I couldn't rush to comfort Janet the way I wanted to. When my son won a school award, Janet couldn't hold my hand and share my pride. We maintained careful physical distance, rationed our glances, monitored our tone of voice. We were actresses in the most important performance of our lives. Holidays were torture and blessing combined. We'd celebrate together, both families, always, and I'd watch Janet laugh with my son, help her daughters with homework, exist in my space as if she belonged there. Because she did belong there. She belonged everywhere I was, but we could never say it. We went on friend vacations once a year, just the two of us, telling everyone we needed a break from single motherhood. Those weeks were heaven. We'd drive to distant cities where no one knew us, check into hotels as a couple, hold hands in public, kiss without looking over our shoulders. For brief, precious moments, we could be ourselves. But coming home was always devastating. We'd pull into our separate driveways, and the masks would snap back into place. Janet would become my best friend again. The physical ache of not being able to touch her, even casually, was sometimes unbearable. Our families found our closeness endearing. "You two are like sisters," people would say. My mother once commented, "I'm so glad you have Janet. Every woman needs a best friend like that." I smiled and agreed, dying inside because she'd never know that Janet was so much more than a friend. She was my everything. The lies compounded over years. We lied about weekend plans, overnight stays, shared finances. We maintained separate bedrooms in both houses for appearances. We dated men occasionally, brief, unsatisfying relationships designed to deflect suspicion. Each lie felt like a betrayal of our love, but also a protection of it. Our children grew up and moved away. My son went to college in Boston. Janet's daughters settled in different states. Suddenly, we had more freedom and more questions about why we weren't dating, remarrying, moving on with our lives. "Mom, you're only 55, my son said during a visit. "You could still meet someone. Don't you want companionship?" I looked at Janet, who was in my kitchen making coffee, and felt the familiar ache. "I have companionship," I said carefully. "Janet and I take care of each other." He smiled. "That's great, but it's not the same as having a partner. Don't you miss being in love?" "I miss being able to admit I'm in love," I thought. But I said, "I'm happy as I am." The secret took its toll on us in different ways. I became increasingly anxious, always worried about being discovered. I developed insomnia, lying awake, calculating risks. Janet grew quieter over the years, her natural warmth dimming under the weight of hiding. Some nights I'd find her crying softly, mourning the life we couldn't have. "Do you regret this?" I asked her once, on our 40th anniversary, a milestone we could only celebrate alone. "I regret that we have to hide," she said, "but I'll never regret loving you. You're the best decision I ever made." We talked sometimes about coming out, but the fear was so ingrained, so deeply rooted, that we couldn't imagine actually doing it. What if our children rejected us? What if it changed how they remembered their childhoods? What if they felt betrayed by decades of lies? We were 68 and 70 when Janet had a health scare, a minor stroke that could have been major. I sat in the hospital waiting room as her friend, not allowed in her room during family-only hours. Her daughters sat with her while I waited, helpless and invisible, my heart breaking. When I finally got in to see her, Janet was crying. "I almost died," she whispered, "and you couldn't even hold my hand in front of them. Catherine, I can't do this anymore. I love our children, but I need them to know the truth. I need to stop pretending you're just my friend when you're the love of my life." But fear won again. We decided to wait. There would be a better time, we told ourselves, when the kids weren't so busy, when things were less complicated. The excuses multiplied, and years passed. Then, last month, my granddaughter Emily came to visit. She's 22, bright and thoughtful, studying women's literature in graduate school. She was helping me organize old photos when she found a picture from one of our friend vacations, Janet and me on a beach, standing closer than friends typically do, happiness radiating from our faces. "You and Grandma Janet look so happy here," Emily said. "Like really, genuinely happy." "We were," I said carefully. Emily looked at me with her mother's eyes. "Grandma, can I ask you something personal?" My heart stopped. "Of course, sweetheart." Emily held up the photo. "Have you ever been in love? Like really, truly in love? The kind of love that changes everything?" I looked at that picture at Janet and me, young and happy and briefly free, and something inside me broke open. 43 years of silence, of careful words and hidden truths, suddenly felt like too much weight to carry for even one more moment. "Yes," I whispered. "I have been in love like that." "Tell me about him," Emily said gently. The moment stretched out, eternal and terrifying. I could lie again. I'd lied for 4 decades. One more lie wouldn't matter. But looking at my granddaughter's open, curious face, I realized I was exhausted. Exhausted from hiding, from pretending, from protecting a secret that had become a prison. Her, I said quietly. Tell me about her. Emily's eyes widened slightly, but her expression remained open, compassionate. Her eye nodded, tears starting to fall. Her name is Janet, your grandma Janet. She's not just my best friend, Emily. She's been my partner for 43 years. We fell in love when your mother was 6 years old, and we've been together ever since. No one knows. Not your mother, not anyone, just us. The words hung in the air like a confession and a relief. Emily sat perfectly still, processing. I braced myself for rejection, for shock, for disappointment. Instead, she took my hand. Grandma, why didn't you tell anyone? Because it was 1982 when we fell in love, I said, the story pouring out. Because we were both mothers, and being gay could have meant losing custody of our children. Because we were scared, and that fear became a habit, and then it became our life. We kept the secret to protect our children, and then we kept it because we didn't know how to stop. Emily squeezed my hand. Does Grandma Janet know you're telling me? No, God, no. She's going to be terrified when she finds out. But Emily, I can't keep lying. Your question, have you ever been in love? It broke something open. Because, yes, I've been in love every single day for 43 years with the woman everyone thinks is just my friend. We talked for 3 hours. Emily asked questions, and I answered honestly for the first time in decades. She wanted to know everything: how we met, how we managed the secret, what it cost us, whether we were happy. She cried when I told her about the hospital, about not being able to hold Janet's hand when she thought she might die. Grandma, Emily said finally, you need to tell everyone. Mom, Uncle Tom, Janet's daughters, all of us, because this is beautiful, and you deserve to be seen for who you really are. You both do. What if they can't accept it? I asked, voicing my deepest fear. Then, that's their problem, not yours. But Grandma, I think you'll be surprised. The world has changed. We have changed. And anyone who truly loves you will want you to be happy and authentic, even if the truth is complicated. After Emily left, I called Janet. We need to talk, I said. I told Emily. Janet came over immediately, terrified and furious. You told her, without discussing it with me. Catherine, what have you done? I couldn't lie anymore, I said simply. She asked if I'd ever been in love, and I looked at her, and I just, couldn't. I'm 71 years old, Janet. How much longer are we going to hide? Janet sank onto my couch, shaking. What did she say? She said it was beautiful. She said we deserve to be seen. She thinks we should tell everyone. Everyone. Janet's voice rose. Our children, after 43 years of lying to them, they'll never forgive us. Maybe not. But Janet, I'm tired. I'm so tired of pretending you're not the love of my life. When you had that stroke, I couldn't hold your hand. I couldn't be with you as your partner. I had to sit in a waiting room as if I were just a friend. I can't live like that anymore. We fought. We cried. We held each other. Finally, Janet said, if we're going to do this, we do it together. We tell them together. We started with my son Tom. He flew in from Boston, confused about why both Janet and I needed to see him urgently. We sat in my living room, Janet and I on one couch, Tom across from us, and I'd never been more terrified. Tom, there's something your mom and I need to tell you, Janet began, her voice shaking. Something we should have told you decades ago. I took her hand openly, visibly, and said, Janet and I aren't just friends. We've been partners, romantically, for 43 years. Since you were 6 years old. We're in love, and we have been your whole life. Tom stared at our joined hands. The silence was crushing. Then he said, I knew what. Janet and I said simultaneously, I mean, I didn't know for sure, but I suspected. You were always together, always happier with each other than with anyone else. When I was in high school, I wondered, but I figured if you wanted me to know, you'd tell me. He looked at me with gentle eyes. Mom, I'm not upset that you're gay. I'm upset that you felt you had to hide it from me for 40 years. The relief was overwhelming, but Tom had grown up in a different era, with more progressive views. Janet's daughters were another matter, both more conservative, both with strong religious beliefs. When we told them, the reactions were mixed. Janet's younger daughter, Michelle, cried and said she needed time to process. The older daughter, Karen, was angry not about us being together, but about the decades of deception. "You lied to us our entire lives," she said. "How do we trust anything now?" It's been 3 months. Michelle has come around, slowly accepting and even celebrating our relationship. Karen is still distant, still hurt. Tom has been wonderful, even helping us tell extended family. Some relatives have been supportive, others have stopped speaking to us. But here's what I've learned. Living authentically, even when it's hard, is better than dying with your truth locked inside. Janet and I are 71 and 68 years old. We're finally, publicly, undeniably together. We hold hands in public. We introduce each other as partners. We're planning a small ceremony to celebrate our love. We lost time. We hurt people we love, but we're finally free. I won't tell you that coming out at 71 was easy, or that everyone accepted us, or that there haven't been consequences. But I will tell you this. The first time I held Janet's hand in front of my son, the first time I called her my partner instead of my friend, the first time we kissed goodbye in public, those moments were worth every difficult conversation, every lost relationship, every consequence. We protected our secret for 43 years. We thought we were protecting our children, our families, ourselves. But what we were really protecting was fear. And fear, no matter how justified, is still a prison. If you're reading this and you're hiding whether it's your sexuality, your truth, your authentic self, please know that it's never too late. Even at 71, even after decades of silence, you can choose honesty. You can choose yourself. Janet and I are proof that late blooms are just as beautiful as early ones, that second chances exist at any age, and that love, real, true, deep love, deserves to be seen and celebrated, no matter how long it's been hidden. Your turn. Have you ever kept an important secret to protect someone you love? Or have you been living a truth you're afraid to share? What would it take for you to break your silence? Share your story in the comments. This is a safe space for all of us learning to live authentically. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. Together, we're stronger. Remember, your truth deserves to be told. Your love deserves to be seen. And you deserve to be free.